So I want to take a moment to talk about the difference between a reverse fault and a thrust fault. Because generically, both of these faults have the same motion. The hanging wall has moved up in comparison to the footwall, right? So we see the same motion. However, the difference here is the angle of the actual fault line itself. So in a thrust fault, the angle has to be 30 degrees or less. And the reason why we make a distinction between these two is because our rocks behave differently. So let's take a look at the reverse fault for a second. So here we see that the angle is relatively high, and basically we need some force to push this block up. It's going to take a lot of force to push that block up a steeper slope. It's just like if you've ever moved, and let's say you rented a U-Haul, but that U-Haul did not have a ramp off of it. So let's say you had a whole heavy box full of books, and there was no ramp, so you had to lift it straight up onto the truck. Obviously, that would be very difficult because you have to exert a lot of force. So in a reverse fault, right, all that force is needed. So we don't see as much movement, okay, that occurs. So here we have less movement. However, in a thrust fault, because this angle is so low, it's like having that ramp on the back of your U-Haul. It doesn't take much energy to push that hanging wall up along this really low angle fault line. So on a thrust fault, we have more movement. So it's much easier for this whole block to move much farther up than it would have in a reverse fault. So hopefully that kind of clears up the differences between our two faults.